I would rather get COVID again than watch this fucking movie. Welcome back to the Spectral Frame. Today, we are not f***ing around. We gotta get to the bottom of why Apple TV Plus's new streaming film, The Gorge, is so bad. It's a chasm of catastrophe, a canyon of calamity. It's also really boring. The Gorge follows our two main characters, Levi and Drassa, played by Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy, as they man these two guard towers on opposite sides of this mysterious, foggy gorge, otherwise known as your mom. Basically, they have to use various guns and military weapons to keep whatever is in the gorge from coming out. They can't ask any questions about why they're there or what's in the gorge, and they have to follow the rules stringently. One of those rules being they can't communicate with the guard on the opposite tower. Levi is an American on the west side of the gorge, and Drassa is a Russian on the east side of the gorge. But good thing rules are for weenies, because these two, of course, break that rule. They start communicating and they fall in love. It's gorgeous. Whatever. So strap in or strap on and watch these two dummies fall in love and discover the mysteries of the gorge.
There's not a lot of reasons for me right now.
What if I gave you a reason?
The Gorge isn't like your typical kind of bad movie. On the surface, everything about this thing seems fine. You have two decent name actors, you have a very competent director, you have a big budget, and a very high concept. But if you're paying attention to the movie, you will start to see the cracks very quickly. But I don't think that's the goal of this movie. The Gorge is supposed to be on in the background while you're like scrolling TikTok or like putting your groceries away or folding laundry or doing literally anything else in your house. It's background noise. It's wallpaper. I wasn't particularly excited to see The Gorge, but I was sick with COVID and stuck on the couch, so I said, you know what? How bad could this really be? I have thoughts, so let's just get into them.
There she is. West Tower observation post. You're home for the next 365 days.
What's that on the other side?
That is East Tower. Contact with the other side is strictly forbidden.
Usually I go through my list of likes first because it is truly a rare movie that I can't find any redeeming quality about it whatsoever. You know, I respect filmmaking. It takes a lot of time and effort and money from a lot of people to make it come to life and show up on my screen, but this movie, ooh, it had me struggling, dude. First on my likes list, this film is technically competent. All the shots are in focus. You could hear all the actors' dialogue, there's music in there, there's a beginning, middle, and end, and some credits. It is technically a movie. Congrats, my ears and eyes didn't bleed. Next on my likes list, this movie had a mix of pre-existing music as well as original score, and one of the pre-existing songs was a really great needle drop. It's a Yeah 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 song, and I love it, and that was really nice. I'm sorry, I'm really fucking stretching this. And speaking of original scores, I also really like to hear new music from Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, the Oscar-winning composers of this film, although they will not win an Oscar for this film. We'll talk about that later, but it's nice to hear new music from them, so that's a like on my list. And lastly on my likes, actually that's all of them. Moving on to dislikes. I hate this movie.
So what's the mission? To keep people from going in the gorge?
No. You need to stop what's in the gorge from coming out.
We're going to start with all the high-level stuff, so first and foremost on my dislikes is the direction and the overall vision for this movie. The Gorge has a really specific action sci-fi horror premise, but it doesn't have any like defining style or visual language. Every shot is either a medium shot or a wide. There's like no close-ups and everything is shot so basic. Every scene is basically shot, reverse shot, and that's it. There's nothing to like really grab onto. It feels like high-budget, quick factory-made TV. It's completely slick looking, but absolutely soulless. Which is disappointing because this isn't just some director the studio brought in to just like churn out this movie and get it over with. This is Scott Derrickson, a man with a pedigree. He directed things like The Exorcism of Emily Rose, Sinister from 2012, The Black Phone from a couple years ago, as well as Marvel's Doctor Strange. Like, the man does have visual style and can put it to good use, but here, it's like He was asleep at the wheel. There's nothing that says this is a Scott Derrickson movie, or a movie made by any director with any sense of style. Again, this movie feels like it was just made for background purposes and feels insulting to anybody actually trying to engage with the narrative.
What the hell is that?
The Gorge is the door to hell.
And that brings us to my next dislike of this movie, the writing. The script is so paint by numbers. Basically, anything that you think is going to happen in the movie does happen. On top of that, the dialogue is super cringy and awkward. But if you're ever confused about what the hell is going on, just wait about 15 seconds and one of our main characters will completely explain it to you without any nuance or emotion. You're welcome, you stupid idiot. On top of that, every choice in this script had to have been like the first thing the writer thought of. It's A to B to C to D, and there's no surprises here at all. They do try to pepper in little hints and setups early on in the movie, but they're done with such blunt force that by the time they pay off later on in the movie, you see them coming from a mile away, so there's no aha moment there. It's just like a total fucking eye roll.
Stray dog protocol. What is that?
No idea. But if you hear those air raid sirens, you run like hell.
Third on my dislikes list is the action. This is supposed to be an action sci-fi horror film. There's guns, there's monsters and creatures, and there's a big government plot, but it could not be done more boring. The action scenes in this movie are like the hold music you have to listen to when you call your doctor. It's not there to entertain you, but just fill your time, fill that blank void until you can speak to the receptionist. Here, the action scenes are just filling up the time to get us from plot point to the next plot point. Action scenes are supposed to build tension, but the only tension I felt through this whole thing was, am I going to stay awake through it because I just chugged half a bottle of NyQuil? We also know nothing's going to happen to our main characters because the movie spent half of its runtime trying to gaslight us into thinking they're in love, so we can't hurt them and we can't kill them, so I just don't feel any tension throughout any of these scenes. It could have just been static and I probably wouldn't have even noticed. Next on my list of dislikes is the characters. Again, the acting is competent enough, but it leaves a lot to be desired. Miles Teller plays Levi, a hardened US mercenary with nothing to really live for and no one to love, so he's posted up on the western side of the Gorge for the US. He, of course, falls in love with Drasa, who guards the eastern side of the Gorge. She's a Russian woman, played by Anya Taylor-Joy, doing an accent, and she is trying her damn best to bring any depth to this character. These two are not supposed to be in communication with each other, but Drasa is kind of that like manic pixie dream girl trope. She's like this wild and crazy girl who drinks a lot and like shoots guns and listens to old punk rock music and stuff. She starts communicating with Levi through like written messages that he can see through the binoculars, and the boy can't help himself. He's got to talk back to her. How can you not? So they start a habit of writing back and forth to each other across the gorge like this is a feature-length Taylor Swift music video or something. It's just so cringy, but on top of that, these two have no fucking chemistry, like at all. I cannot get on board with this. They really want to create this depth and connection between the two characters, but all they really have them do is like play chess back and forth, like listen to music and pretend to play drums and like shoot creatures that climb out of the gorge and stuff. But like, how do they connect? Like, what is their deeper emotional thing other than, hey, we're the only two people literally out here at all, and we happen to be two relatively conventionally attractive people? What's behind that? I don't know. I hate this. I was never rooting for them, and I think this is a huge misstep in trying to get anybody on board with this movie.
What's the truth about this place? What's the truth about the Gorge?
Next on my list of dislikes is the character CG. When we first see the creatures coming out of the gorge in the dark, it's not that bad. I would say passable. We kind of see them at a distance. Again, it's dark, but as the movie goes on and we get more and more looks at these creatures, oh buddy, it falls apart really quickly. I guess I wasn't expecting like mind-blowing character CG, but they should have at least kept these scenes darker. If you would have kept the CG in the dark more, it would have elevated both the look and also the horror. Because again, this is supposed to have a lot of horror elements, and it doesn't really come through. A lot of these scenes down in the gorge are shot pretty brightly. Like you can see where the horror was supposed to go, but instead they just gave their animators some like really really flat shots and said, make this interesting. And minor spoiler alert, of course, our two characters do go down into the gorge. We'll get into more spoilers later on in this video, but we go down to the gorge and we see some creatures. But the biggest problem is that the creators had no idea how to make this gorge environment actually scary. Like, it was built up so much that all humans who enter will be consumed by the gorge, but it just kind of looks like your aunt's foggy backyard in Ohio. They do try to hype up the environment a little bit by bathing different parts of the gorge and like these digital color overlays, but they come off as just kind of cheap repairs and cheap fixes for like a TV show. Like, you can tell they didn't have enough set design to sell this thing as creepy, so they said, fix it in post. I'm just saying there's no amount of lipstick that can make this pig look pretty. And honestly, I know the feeling. Got thin lips.
Those three, close together. Rain spelt.
I see it.
Next on my list, there is no depth to this movie at all. Now, I don't think this movie was necessarily aiming for depth, but it did take its time to set up these tragic backstories for both of our main characters and show how alone they are in the world. You'd think this would be a perfect setup to kind of dive into that a little bit and what it means to be alone in this world, but it's really just an elaborate setup to show us that they are perfect to protect the gorge because no one will miss them if they never come back, but also they're open to love. And honestly, how they set them up, I think if a cult came along at just the right time, these two people would be perfect members. They're like psychological prey. It's like the equivalent of picking up a runaway from the bus stop, you know, after they just left Buffalo, New York or something like that. Sorry, Buffalo. Last on my dislikes list is the score. I know, I included it in the likes, but I'm not tripping, I promise you. I love a solid Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross score as much as the next guy, but the way it was used and mixed in this movie is a f***ing abomination. It really reminds me of how their score was used in Bird Box. Remember Bird Box?
Never take off your blindfold. We will make it.
Basically, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross came out and said how much they hated the process of scoring Bird Box because they weren't allowed to give like mix suggestions or notes or be there when the film was being mixed, and you can tell it's very similar here. A lot of the score is buried and it feels like it might as well have just been like stock music they found on the internet. Like, when I heard it originally, I was like, oh, this is a Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross ripoff score because it just sounds bad the way it's put into the film and the way it's used, but nope, it's a real one. And they don't deserve that either. Their music is great and they have a ton of awards to back that up. Like, I know this isn't like a David Fincher film or a Luca Guadagnino film, but like, something, dude. Help them help you. Please.
What the hell is that?
Anyway, those are my main dislikes, but to really grasp how bad the gorge actually is, we gotta get into spoiler territory, because I gotta go through the plot a little more. It's f***ing insane. You have to hear this. But if you don't want to have any fun, I guess you can skip to this time code and ruin my day. So as we discussed earlier, our main characters Levi and Drasa fall in love by writing each other and like playing long distance chess and like pretending to play drums and plenty of other stupid things. But after 6 months of their year-long mission, Levi can't keep it in his pants anymore, so he ziplines over to the eastern side to meet Drasa and undrasa her. Terrible. Anyway, after they Levi reveals that even though he's a super tough macho guy, he's also got a sensitive side. He writes poems, and he wrote a poem about Drasa, but he's too shy to read it. So when Levi goes to zipline back to the western side of the gorge, he's scooting along, but one of the creatures from the gorge comes up and detonates a mine, which cuts his line, and he falls down into the gorge. He has to parachute to safety in the bottom of the big, creepy, mysterious gorge. Drasa can't just sit around and let that good dick go to waste. She's got to go down there and save her man. Once they're down there, they encounter these creatures face to face, and they find out they're like human, plant, animal, hybrid, cross-contaminated mutant things. Think of the movie Annihilation, but for your drunk uncle who has no idea what a metaphor is. Anyway, our two lovers find refuge from these creatures in an old abandoned World War II research lab where they discover that the contaminants inside this lab are what has caused these mutations. But on top of that, it's not the government that's hired them to keep all of this secret and keep everything down in the gorge. It's this spooky, mysterious military contractor company called Dark Lake.
Dark Lake. Paramilitary.
Ooh, I hate that name. Dark Lake is actually using the gorge to create super soldiers for the future. And do you want to know how we discover all of this great information, folks? Well, good news, it's just told to us like a Wikipedia entry.
Our duty here is no longer about research, but containment. Exposure to the biochemical contaminant has literally merged the genetic DNA of the biological entities in our gorge environment.
Levi and Drassa discover this like old film reel where a scientist from the 40s goes on about the horrible contaminants that have, again, made all of this happen, combined human and plant and animal DNA together to make these horrible creatures, and it's awful, so they've stopped the research lab and they've tried to evacuate everybody. We also learned that after 5 days of exposure, basically, that your DNA will never go back to normal and you're stuck being a mutant. But immediately after they watch the movie, Levi discovers a computer from like 2000 or 2001 that has no password on it that he just starts up and learns all the ins and outs of Dark Lake's super sinister plan for super soldiers. He literally discovers their whole plan in like 10 seconds of looking at this computer. And again, not even a password on it. On top of this, the people at Dark Lake can see somebody access the computer and have access to a 2001 like webcam where they can see in high definition Levi and Drassa looking at all their files. So you're telling me that Dark Lake had access to the computer the whole time, knowing it holds all their secrets and also knowing it has no fucking password on it? Why not wipe it? Why not destroy it? It's not like they fucking need... I hate this. Sorry, Steven. I'm so sorry. Whatever. Now that Levi and Drassa know everything, they take a 1940s Jeep that just starts up after not having moved in 80 years and use the winch on the front to try to reel themselves back up to the top of the gorge, all while fighting off the various creatures who are trying to get them, but they win. They get to the top. But once they're safe up top, they decide to separate and wait like 5 or so days to make sure that the contaminants haven't infected them. But while they're separated, Dark Lake, of course, knows what's going on, and they're going to kill these two. Levi, of course, finds out that they're coming after them, so he initiates Emergency Protocol Stray Dog, which is essentially like nuking the entire gorge and wiping it off the face of the map.
The gorge is exposed. Stray dog.
Once Dark Lake gets there to kill everybody, they're caught up in the nuclear blast and they die, including Sigourney Weaver's character, Rip, and our heroes get to escape, albeit separately still. Days later, when Levi doesn't show up to their arranged meeting point, Drassa opens up an envelope from him which has his poem, of course. He really is a sweetheart, you know, deep down, but he's probably dead, right? Because he didn't show up to the thing and we hadn't seen him, so I guess we have to be sad as an audience because I guess Levi's dead now. But wait, a month later or so, Drassa is now a very overqualified waitress at a restaurant when she goes up to a table to find it's Levi. He's there, baby, and he's ready for some shrimp cocktail or something. And they kiss, and then the credits roll. That's the end of the movie. I threw up in my mouth a little bit. It's just so incredibly saccharine, and like we had no doubts through this whole movie that they were going to end up alive at the end of this thing and together, and it's just, oh god, it's so bad. But anyway, you guys know what I think of The Gorge. Let's hop on IMDb and see what those have to say about this movie.
What the hell is that?
Alright, as of this recording, The Gorge has a 6.8 on IMDb. That is insanity. Absolute insanity. As always, we're going to start with a couple 10-star reviews and work our way down to the 1-star reviews. Alright, we have a 10-star review from Martin Roquette Dorao. A good story with a great cast, it gets you locked in through the whole movie. A simple and well-made movie and story based mostly on the characters and doesn't lose that perspective. Obviously those aspects didn't work for me, but yeah, I think they spent so much time trying to get us to believe that these two characters were in love that it totally shirked all its other responsibilities as to sci-fi and action and horror. Plus, I don't buy the relationship at all, so Anya Taylor-Joy is a wonderful actress. The way she sways grabs you in any movie she appears. Paired with Miles Teller gives you a good pair essential to the whole movie. Anya Taylor-Joy definitely has the most weight to carry with this movie. I think Miles Teller is just kind of playing Miles Teller, you know, but like she's really doing her best. She's got the accent. She's trying to be wild, crazy girl and like fall in love and stuff. It doesn't work for me at all, but she is trying, so kudos. Next, we have another 10-star review from JCFCNP. Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy brought the rom-com to a government sci-fi movie in the best way. I don't know. I don't know if we needed it. As a book girly, this brought all my forbidden romance and fight the patriarchy needs to the big screen. We've got cover-ups, we got tension, both romantic and life or death situation-y. We've got a broody man who is down bad for a confident woman who knows she's the boss. I guess I could see this working for this reviewer. I don't know them, but like it does kind of feel very fan fiction-y, like a romance like forced into this situation where it doesn't really make sense. It does, yeah, there's like some fan fiction-y kind of things going on here that I guess appeals to this person. Again, does not work for me at all and totally distracts from the elements. I don't think any one specific element, like the rom-com isn't good, the horror isn't good, the sci-fi isn't good, and the action is really bad as well. So I think by trying to do all these, it does all of them poorly. So I don't know, man. Our first 1-star review is from Curtis Peace. This is a pitifully nonsensical story with two snipers juxtaposed as if the story hasn't been told before, and the whole idea that super top secret spies get dropped into countries and don't know where they are. Give me a break. Who writes movies like this even possibly thinks this could be a good idea and then spends time and money and effort filming it and going to locations and setting scenes and spewing dumb dialogue written by writers who can't possibly be taken seriously? This is not a B movie, it's a D movie. I mean, one below a C movie, you know what I mean? It's terrible, it's not realistic, not even in the least. Save your brain cells and don't watch this goofy nonsense, period. Wow, not a single period until the very end there, Curtis. Holy shit. Yes, I do agree that the movie is nonsensical. It doesn't work for me. I don't know if I've seen anything necessarily quite like this. I know you kind of say that it's all been done before and stuff, and I think certain things about this have all been done before, but none quite like this, and definitely none this badly. So I do agree with you, but also sentence structure, buddy. Just, we have the internet now. Our last 1-star review comes from William O. Fox. From start to never finished, this movie was full of cliches and played more like a poorly written junior high school story than a movie that cost actual money to make and put on television. The characters are overplayed, the exaggerated storylines and backstories are not believable, the overuse of military members and unmanaged PTSD in order to rope them into secret missions is a dangerous and inaccurate representation of soldiers that really do have PTSD. Yeah, I could see that being pretty offensive, actually. I don't know much about the military or anything like that, so I definitely can't speak to those things, but I could see how this would be definitely offensive to people, because goddamn. But it was convenient that the old reels and projectors were set up after 80 years. 25-year-old modern computers worked down in the middle of a gorge, and luckily, working vehicles with full tanks of gas had the keys in them. Stop letting 12-year-old boys write movies for billion-dollar corporations. Couldn't agree with you more, Mr. William O. Fox. I think it's just insanity, and that whole part of the movie is just so terribly written. It's so lazy. I think it's lazy more than anything. It's like you spent so much time setting up this whole love story and now you have to get through all this exposition and stuff. So, old film reel, computer, working car. Here, now you guys can escape this one bad situation you're in. It's so convenient and so lazy, and it really, really frustrates me. So I definitely agree with this take. So is The Gorge a recommend for me? No, absolutely not. Skip this movie. I don't think it has anything to offer, and it's not even like a fun, bad movie watch, so skip it. It's on Apple TV Plus right now to watch, so if you want some moving wallpaper or some noise in the background while you're doing something else, I still think there's better things to watch than this. So just avoid it. It's a total fucking waste of time, and I would know. I make videos for 8 people on the internet. So what'd you think of The Gorge? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was just okay? Let me know in the comments. But if you've made it this far, thank you so much for sticking around. I know it was a long one, sorry about that. If you like the content, give it a like. If you really like the content, give it a sub. I'd really appreciate it. It's free and helps me continue doing this stuff. So in the meantime, stay out of spooky gorges, never fall in love, but do try your hand at poetry. If Miles Teller can do it, you can do it.